Hello and welcome back to the Console League. We will be now in North America, as was mentioned by Tolly, and we will be seeing some of these teams that we've been watching for a couple weeks, trying to get it back. SoaR going to be coming in. Not exactly the run that they've been hoping for at the beginning of the split.
Yeah, it's been an interesting start for SoaR, and I'm definitely excited for this one, Gore. It's been a really, really tough matchup so far in North America console as far as the competition is concerned. And now the question is, can In Memory of Michael keep it going?
Yeah, and that's going to be the main goal. We've seen them against some of the teams that have now risen to the top. Now they get to go up against each other. They're both sitting towards the bottom. I believe SoaR actually having no wins just yet, looking to try and find their first one here. Memory of Michael, again, like you said, just trying to keep themselves going forward, but we'll look at the schedule so you can see all of these nice games for the day. Of course, first will be SoaR versus In Memory of Michael, then Obey versus Strictly Business, and Astral versus Elevate.
And of course, a lot of eyes on all of these teams in North America, realistically speaking. Every single one of them has a very solid chance at taking games off the other, so it really just shows how much that gap has closed as far as having a clear distinction between the top of the crop and those who are having a little bit more of a struggle coming into the competitive. And for a team like In Memory of Michael, they have really shown that they are a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting to see how they're going to go for and handle SoaR, because SoaR knows what they're doing. They've been around the scene a while, so they know kind of where they want to put themselves. They just haven't been able to execute it. So as we go into picks and bans, we'll get to see what exactly the game plan is.
And I'd imagine some pretty standard bans already eliminating Terra as an option, which is smart selection. Don't want to have to worry about that global presence with the ultimate or just the strong laning control and map presence.
And the same two bans that we've seen coming out. Terra first, Odin next. We're actually going to see the Cullen taken off the board, though, at this point. Seeing what it was able to do earlier in the solo lane, not too surprising, but still kind of shaky. I mean, it's not necessarily the strongest ban, not really that weak. The same thing kind of goes for Scotty.
I think as far as console is concerned, I would probably prioritize a Kakolan ban in comparison to a lot of other gods, especially with the recent nerfs out onto Robin. It's a lot easier to try and distinguish some of these more aggro solo laners at the moment, or even potential jungles. Kakolan does have that flex pick option, and now we will be seeing the Artio being left open due to the bans that have been made.
Yeah, so we're kind of recognizing, wait, we're first pick here, we don't need to get rid of her, and since IMOM didn't do it, they have that one wide open for them. Artio, one of those goddesses that comes in and she has a lot to her, she can do a lot for you, but at the same time, she can still get shut down depending on how IMOM descends on playing this one. With the Thoth and the Geb being picked up, they have some potential, a lot of damage. The Thoth we saw earlier didn't quite hit the mark, though.
For a Thoth, it can be hit or miss, and realistically speaking, it's looking like a lot of hits between that Geb set of Cataclysm can really come up clutch when you're trying to get that combination off for your Thoth. But I also really think that In Memory of Michael are going to have to be incredibly careful as far as working out the early game of the early portion of the game is concerned, because that is a lot of fearful presence from SoaR already with Raijin, Osiris, and Artio.
And I really like the response, grabbing the Nemesis, being able to say, okay, these guys have the ability to get away from us. Maybe we need something to slow them down a little bit, keep them within our range. Grabbing her up and, of course, being able to shred some of those protections. Artio, Osiris, Raijin, all a little tankier. Of course, some of them meaning to be, but Raijin a little beefier for a mage, so definitely going to be nice for those ganks early on.
Smiling because of that so big ban, not trying to let Delnyy have a god that he's been way too proficient on. I'd honestly call it one of his staple picks, but really, it's just smart decision-making so far from both teams. I like the mentality behind In Memory of Michael. Again, it's just going to come down to execution for this team and working around that early game presence that's going to be available for SoaR.
And, I mean, just speaking of early game presence, we're going to go ahead and see the Thor locked in, which they can kind of go for. But Muzen Cobb coming through. He's been pretty popular lately.
He's been a very popular pick indeed. First making an appearance, I would say, as far as the European SPL is concerned. Console taking a page out of the PC players' books, but understandably so. Muzen Cobb, if you're looking for pressure at the start of a match, this is probably one of the best ways to acquire it. This is, I believe, one of the top clearing lanes right now that you can possibly have between the Artio and the Muzen Cobb.
And we'll get to see Tale of Old as Time, Osiris versus Bellona. Seen it 1,000 times, you'll get to see it again here as the solo laners are going in for the matchup. It's going to be kind of interesting to see again, because SoaR has a little bit of a benefit early on, especially coming down from the Thor, but on the other side, that Nemesis is going to be an ever-present threat.
Some things just never get old, and this is one of those instances, and right now, it's going to really be up to Memory of Michael to try and counteract what I'd imagine to be some early invades from SoaR Gaming. Keegs actually starting off in that mid lane alongside of Shaliber. Very smart strategy considering Raijin already has great lane clear by level 2. He can typically full clear. Adding in an AMC at level 1 just means invade.
And SoaR being able to swap it up. Actually, we're going to see Thor go ahead and use that aggression he has early on, relating, able to pick up first blood, and Jumpa stuck in an awkward position trying to get away as a Nemesis. Level 1, not a lot of control for the lane just coming out of this. Going to be able to pick up some of that solo farm, but now Delnyy in a rough spot getting put down that early on.
Looks like that one didn't come easy, though, to Relating. He was quite a bit lower before he started getting a little bit of regen off his health pots, and, of course, the Boomba's Mass off the fire elementals. Still, putting Delnyy behind early on is a strong look for SoaR.
I really like the way SoaR has they figured out. They know Artio has a little bit of clear. I like the swapping of KeegsMate and Medieval. Instead of having the support in the mid lane, having that Amaz and Cobb like you were mentioning earlier, get that little bit of extra clear. But it's interesting to see Medieval be the only one left for that duo lane, just because he's not going to have the best clear, and he's not going to be able to keep as much up with In Memory of Michael.
Well, the main reason why this is affordable for Medieval to make that little bit of a sacrifice in gold early, but still getting the full benefits of the experience of the wave, it's that Inbound is kind of confined to that dual lane as the Geb. They recognize that they needed to put Jumpa in the solo lane to try and prevent an early invade from relating a StormyRays. Granted, it happened anyway because of Keegs and Shaliber, but it's just one of those little things where you try to put your Geb in the best position possible to acquire that early farm.
And with not only Keegs and Shaliber being together, but now with Relating having that first blood on his belt and being able to rotate just a little bit more often and come around higher farm, higher level, higher damage as it stands right now, SoaR had looked to try and keep control of at least the two lanes, mid and right. So far, though, the dual lane kind of just coming out as an impasse, but when it's a 1v2 and you're just an Artio by yourself, that's kind of what you would want.
Fortunately enough for Delnyy, though, on that solo, he was able to pick up his own blue buff, so he'll at least have that to his name, building him a little bit more time, at least so they can prevent SoaR from the next jungle buff invade, or at least have the timer for one of their buffs.
So we see Osiris ult coming out very early on, hits that level 5, not going to connect with anyone though, and StormyRays recognizing that he's not going to be able to get this damage down, but still being the bully the lane needs. What I was going to ask about was the fact that Artio has skipped the Lono's mask. Do you think that's going to be beneficial for Medieval, or do you think that's going to hurt more later on?
Medieval could probably get away with this since he is solo farming and he doesn't want last hit, so Traveler's and Watcher's Gift is really all that he needs. Lono still could have potentially worked out, but at least if he has the Travelers, he has a lot more survivability by himself in that lane. Speaking of survivability, Relating, looking for anybody, trying to find that Thor ultimate onto Delnyy, but coming up just a little bit too far ahead of him.
Yeah, just off the mark. And while it's good, you get to see Thor being able to utilize that. Now knowing that that's off the board, that opens up the mid lane to be a little bit more aggressive. Still going to be rough, like you had said, because the Geb not going to apply as much aggression as you'll see out of the Artio. And now with Raijin, Shaliber now level 6, being able to kind of push up full clear, things are going to get rough. And Keegs looking for any aggression he could get, but just not feeling it by himself.
Understandably so. I mean, once you recognize that Inbound has made the rotation as well to that red buff, 3 people means you're probably not going to be able to secure it, and that's the story here for In Memory of Michael's speed buff. 3 members of SoaR Gaming present, even though Keegs was the lone rider of that red.
Now everyone on SoaR Gaming, sometimes you kind of question it. Is it worthwhile having, 3-4 people around this buff? But when it's not your buff, it doesn't really matter as much. You're still getting the experience, so it's going to be worthwhile all around. Medieval using his aggression, using that bear as best he can. And we see the blue buff getting taken away, and now Delnyy going to be feeling a little bit of hurt. It's okay to be Bellona, and it's sometimes okay to lose your blue buff, but this Osiris, StormyRays already has control, so now Delnyy feeling the pressure.
Delnyy will definitely keep feeling the heat. It's going to be really hard for him to evade the poke-out potential coming from SoaR, especially since they've already acquired a pretty significant lead due to the being able to invade so freely. Now that they've been able to take away that blue buff, Delnyy will probably still be able to clear the wave efficiently since he is Bellona. It's mostly just worrisome of SoaR Gaming having so much map control.
And what I'm impressed with is SoaR here having such a distinct lead this early on, 5 minutes in, it's almost 2,000 gold. And completely different than what they were playing last week. The way they've been playing these last couple weeks hasn't really signified this SoaR Gaming that we're seeing right now.
Well, SoaR Gaming on paper, these are all fairly talented players and pretty highly regarded. KeegsMate in particular is typically looked at as one of the best mechanical players on the box, but his downfalls seem to always be he'll play a little bit too aggressive sometimes. AMC is certainly a god that he can afford to have that aggression on and still find the kill even if he does get ganked.
Yeah, Muzen Cobb making his trip over. We hinted at it. We've seen him a couple times in the Pro League now. Now in the Console League, making his trip in. One of the better late-game boxers in the game, actually.
And it should be a really fun matchup, actually, because Keji also loves boxing out and looking for those 1v1s. So when you have two hunters that all they want to do is brawl, you can probably anticipate some ganks coming through. But personally, I'd be more than happy to just watch these two junglers let these guys go at it.
Just fight, fight, fight as it goes through. Relating coming in, looking for the stun. The sun's going to be dropped to try and keep him alive. But Keji does not have a lot of mana. The aggression's going to continue going inbound in the jungle on his way. He's inbound to the lane, and his presence is going to be enough to deter any aggression, as well as that tier 1. No shield needed to come out, no mana left for Keji, so he's forced to go back, but he lives to see another day.
But that force back is going to hurt. He's going to probably be able to miss out on a wave unless Inbound's able to hold it off, but going to take quite a decent amount of poke for it, and this also leaves open the red buff for another invade if SoaR Gaming decide to look that direction.
Jumpa going to the back camps on the left-hand side of the jungle. Looks like they're grouping up. They recognize they don't really want to lose this around, but they don't have the timer on it as it stands right now, so they're kind of left without knowing when that's going to be up. Speed buff up, and SoaR immediately on top of it, coming through. Looks like they're trying to contest for it, and they're going to get some damage down. ErupT, Crimson taken down to half health with one double hammer.
And beautiful disengage by SoaR, popping that sprint just to get out of any danger that might have occurred. And that was such a smart choice by Medieval to immediately offer the sprint, recognizing the Nemesis, and he doesn't want to get caught out.
And we're looking Stormy just doing what Stormy does best. He's zoning and keeping In Memory of Michael on their toes, keeping them scared as well. They don't want to leave their tower line just because they know what is laying in wait in the jungle. Muzen Cobb looking to steal away the red buff, and we see just the invades all around. SoaR continuing their aggression, and they're not getting punished for it.
It's not really much of a... There's no way for Michael to really try and punish them at the moment. SoaR, as long as they keep applying this sort of pressure, considering that they just have so much laning clear as opposed to In Memory of Michael, they're probably just going to keep stretching out this lead, a little bit more of a slow bleed happening.
So in a few games, we've seen sprints come out, we've seen a lot of shells come out. I see a horrific emblem picked up by StormyRays. Was this specifically to combat the Thoth or anything on the side of In Memory of Michael?
That horrific emblem is probably part of the reason why we saw Delnyy fall so early on, because Delnyy has the shell, but it's just not enough of an active to get you away from how slowed you are. And with the cleave auto attacks coming in from Osiris plus Thor damage early game, pretty hard to miss any abilities against somebody who's been horrific emblemed.
Yeah, if you're going to go aggressive, might as well go all out. And with that slow kind of being helpful, it's going to be helpful throughout the entire game as well. And with Stormy at level 10, not too much longer until he's able to pick up something else, which at this point, anything he grabs can still be good for the team. It looks like SoaR being a little bit relaxed with their aggression. Of course, they've taken all of the buffs that they can at this point and going and clearing out their own jungle.
For In Memory of Michael, they've kind of just got to sit tight and hold back, wait for their moments. Even though they're falling behind as far as levels are concerned, they still have the burst potential because of Jumpa playing the Nemesis. There's still plenty of opportunity for him to get that ultimate off and immediately be capitalized on by Crimson with the Thoth.
Now it's looking like the last imp's going to be kind of a contest over here between the two teams. Relating, doing his best to kind of take this lead that he's gotten with that first blood and put the pressure wherever he can. The one thing we haven't really seen out of him yet has been one big Thor ult. No dunks coming out just yet, but that's going to be the ever-present threat from the jungle.
There's been a few attempts by Relating, just falling a little bit short of the mark, and Keegs looking for that counter ward aggression onto the Gold Fury. Wouldn't be surprised to see SoaR make a play pretty soon here for that objective.
Yeah, everything going down. Medieval using this Artio damage to his benefit, trying to get as aggressive as possible. Jumpa going to narrowly dodge that Raijin damage and be able to kind of fall back right now. That's going to be the story of Memory of Michael. They're able to narrowly dodge the damage, and then they just kind of fall back away, and they let SoaR do what SoaR needs to do.
Right now, SoaR is collapsing on top of this speed buff from In Memory of Michael, getting a ton of poke onto Crimson, is Relating with a double tap, but that Geb shield's going to be enough to buy him time to prevent Relating from going further in.
What I really like is Keegs recognizes he's not needed for a fight anymore and rotates over to start getting some poke down on the tower. Keji going to get caught out. Berserker's Barrage doing a ton of damage to him. He's trying to win the fight. The wall a little too late. Up into the sky goes Relating, and he's looking for the proper time to hit. There are 4 members of In Memory of Michael there, though, so he's going to go ahead and opt to fall back. Not enough mana to go in and continue fighting.
Gotta appreciate the discipline from Relating there. Call was clearly to back off, and with the rest of SoaR not looking to dive the T1 tower, In Memory of Michael is able to live and see another day.
And it's one of those few moments where you actually get to see a player decide they're not hungry enough for that kill. They're not going to commit full to that. And Keji able to save his own purple buff. But it's just a small win in the grand scheme of things as the Gold Fury has started up. Keji and Inbound recognize it. They do have the potential. The Suns are not available, though. But SoaR, even with the threat ever present, decide to back off.
Able to force down that Gold Fury to 50% health, though, having to back off because of Crimson lurking right around the corner. That final judgment is ultimately going to lead as better objective secure as opposed to Shalabur on the Taiko drums.
Yeah, and that's going to be the big thing, is Crimson has that same threat that we actually got to see earlier in EU. We had the Ra and the Thoth both in one game. The snipes are going to be just a little bit better overall at helping confirm those objectives, and that's going to be the case here. Crimson, those are going to be the plays he can make. He can either hit maybe 2, 3-man ults, but the most part, he's going to hold on to those for those objectives.
And of course, approaching the 12-minute mark, a little bit more than a 4,000 gold lead in favor of SoaR, and this isn't too horrible just yet for In Memory of Michael, considering that their draft is way more oriented towards the mid to late game. However, they do need to be careful not to permit SoaR to keep freely taking their buffs or any of the global farm. Memory of Michael's got to start working their way in there and really looking to just force out actives at the very least with Jumpa's ultimate.
One of the best things SoaR has going for them right now, I think, is Relating's just paths through the jungles. Just being able to make sure that he the rest of In Memory of Michael are aware that he's always kind of lurking around. He's ready to pounce whenever the need arises. And with Shalabur having the clear he has, StormyRays having the pressure he has, and KeegsMate doesn't seem too worried about the Hu Yi in the duo lane, his presence just anywhere in the jungle is going to be enough to kind of keep In Memory of Michael falling back.
They've really just got to watch out for Medieval, because Medieval having that cripple field surrounding him on the Artio just means that all the escapes that In Memory of Michael would normally have in their favor completely shut off.
Looks like, again, Relating looking for any aggression he might be able to get. They want a few picks because SoaR is hungry for this Gold Fury. They're just not able to get anyone from Memory of Michael off. Because of this early game aggression, In Memory of Michael are actually playing more safe, so they can't get picked off.
And for Inbound, he's really just trying to make the decision between whether he wants to hug that mid or duo lane. It's a difficult choice, though, because without In Memory of Michael having their T1 tower any longer, it's just opened up so much of the map so early on for SoaR that they have to constantly be in fear of Relating dunking down from the Thor ultimate.
And with so much of the map open to SoaR at this point, they're able to find themselves in positions that you wouldn't normally be able to find yourself in a Smite game. Just being able to push forward. At this point, Medieval being able to kind of poke under the Tier 2 tower and just keep Inbound locked in there, even though the Tier 1 is still alive, because they have full control of this jungle as Keji jumps away and looks like he should be able to make it out, even though SoaR really just keeping the aggression, keeping the pressure, and keeps putting In Memory of Michael further and further back.
All Michael want to do is hold on to this little bit of their jungle that's available, but it doesn't seem as though SoaR is going to let up in the slightest. Actually looking like SoaR managed to steal away that red buff. Relating going up into the air. He's ready to pounce.
Gonna come crashing down. Misses Crimson, though, because of it. Going to be able to get the Berserker's Barrage and the autos with the rest of the team there. KeegsMate gonna be able to confirm that kill, no problem. A nice wall coming down to block off Jumpa, but the Geb Shield going to be allowing him to walk a little bit sooner. Running away, we see Roma Invicta. Flag is down, Jumpa off the mark, and we see Delnyy pick up a kill onto Relating, but is he going to trade his life for the cause? He's trying to fight as best he can. He's one Bellona against it all, but with the Geb as well as Keji in the neighborhood, they might be able to get him out of here. Shell has been popped. They're going to continue fighting it down, but with only 2 members, KeegsMate finally returning, but not enough damage to be able to fight it off. They push away Memory of Michael, but they have to fall back themselves.
And Keegs actually using that Boomba's Mask to heal off the Oracles before re-engaging into that fight, but Delnyy did just about everything that he possibly could in that circumstance. He popped his Thorns, he already has the Hide of the Nemean Lion, really just looking to have SoaR reflect as much damage as possible onto themselves, but unfortunately, just still not enough player damage all around to really take out any members from SoaR.
The first Gold Fury of the game going the way of SoaR, and they extend their lead almost 6,000 now, just going up. And that's a pretty hefty chunk of gold for each player. It's not enough to get a full item all across the board, but they're slowly but surely starting to amass that gold. And when they come back, as you can see when you look at the net worth, 4 of their players are at the top, and the only person who's getting beat out is going to be MedievalDoc as a support.
It's really just IRelating who was the only downfall of, or the only focal point in that last team fight. There wasn't a whole lot of room left to play with, but Shaliber escaping as low as he did, that's gotta hurt to watch, because Memory of Michael might have actually been able to contest that Gold Fury had they cleaned up Shaliber.
And then Shaliber just kind of showing exactly his worth, not only in the lead, he's amassed now 2 levels ahead of Crimson, but using that ult perfectly to be able to kind of help give his team that control they needed in the fight, as it seems like we see IRelating up in the sky, comes crashing down. Delnyy 1 hit away. Eagles rally coming through with the shell and the shield, looking to try and live a little bit longer, but ultimately going to fall, and now falling back. The ult off the mark from Crimson, and the team looking to pay for it, but Shaliber is going to be the next for fall. So far, 1 for 1. Jumpa makes it out alive. Medieval, he's tanky, but he's alone.
And Keji looking to try and get out some damage onto Medieval since he was by himself, but the Thor wall is going to separate the 2 teams. But this is the real prize for Memory of Michael. That speed buff, Jumpa, probably so enthusiastic right now to finally lock down his own speed.
As a jungler, that's the one thing you love. Like, if you are left without a speed buff, you feel the pain. Like, you just get so mad about it. It sometimes can tilt you, but it seems like Jumpa's kept his head about him, knowing that this is a little bit more competitive. Portal Demon actually going to get leashed by SoaR, picked up by Michael. But overall, everyone's just going to fall back. They recognize the potential on both sides to be able to take this. Shaliber with his ult a little bit more than Crimson, but still, no team wants to go for it.
The Crimson's really starting to get some damage going in these fights as well. That's probably another really important aspect for Michael to keep in mind. If they can just keep buying a little bit more time between Jumpa and Crimson, they should realistically be able to take out at least 1 member from SoaR in each of these engagements.
The Stormy looking to fight again, going to get the stun down onto Inbound. A lot of damage coming through. Shields himself looking for the best. The Suns are going to be dropped. It comes crashing down as IRelating, and he picks up the kill now 5-2. Delnyy looking to be taken down. We do see the Horrific Emblem used to slow him. The Portal Demon started up. The team kind of mixed between their targets, trying to figure out where they want to go. Keji going to be one target, Jumpa another, and Delnyy forcing himself to be a main one, and IRelating pays for it, going a little bit too deep. And Delnyy going to end up trading it out, but overall he stops the Portal Demon aggression.
Crimson just absolutely destroying IRelating in that one, although the Portal Demon probably still going to go in favor of SoaR. Indeed it does. Keji not healthy enough to try and steal that one away, but MedievalDoc has drawn the attention of a Memory of Michael. They're trying to lock down the bear, but he's just going to be able to dash right on out of there. Not
enough to find the kill, but he's going to be able to stay alive. MedievalDoc showing, even though he's Artio, he can still make it out of there. The bear form being perfect for getting in, getting out. Keegs going a little bit aggressive for what you would normally see an Amus and Cobb want to do, just because he doesn't have a reliable getaway. But he's fine, he's alive, and he's able to continue farming up with a 2-level lead.
Keegs has his hives all over the map right now. His mobility and just travel distance between these hives is crazy. It's just got so much attack speed, and it's working out relatively well for him on this Amus and Cab. And that might not be something people were really expecting to see against a high-pressure god like Hu Yi, but AMC is just the best boxer in the game right now.
And he's picked up a Transcendence, which is one of those items that goes half and half. Some people love it, some people hate it. Do you think this works well for him here?
He just wants as much damage as possible and not having to worry about that mana loss. Sometimes you can run out a little bit sooner than what you'd want to, so having that Transcendence just means he's going to get the power spike, and he's going to be able to rotate pretty freely, not having to worry about backing all the time.
And so far, it looks like it's working out well for him. He's been able to come around, part of 4 of the 6 kills, being able to pick one for himself. MedievalDoc, I like that even though he is not necessarily the carry, not necessarily a solo laner, he's still putting as much pressure onto Keji as he can.
And that's what needs to happen. Keji not having a CC immune ultimate just means that he's pretty susceptible to the CC potential from SoaR Gaming. There's a lot of crowd control coming through from this team. You got Medieval with the cripple field, like we mentioned earlier. Speaking of which, looked like Jumpa actually trying to get something going onto StormyRays, but it's going to be SoaR instead taking full advantage of those two members in the solo lane and going straight onto the Gold Fury.
Yeah, Relating going to be going out to zone out Crimson, keep that final judgment away. Inbound doing his best to keep SoaR off, but he's going to use his ult and trade his life all for it. Crimson one hit away, Relating going to have to teleport through the wall to stay alive, but Jumpa keeping the chase up. A lot of damage coming from Shalaber just to keep him away. The Gold Fury this entire time, Keegs had just been sitting on it. He's going to be able to confirm that one, no problem. Jumpa recognizes he's too late, decides to run away.
One by one, the members of Michael were just forced out and away from the Gold Fury pit. So all around, extremely well executed zoning process by SoaR.
Now 20 minutes in, extending their lead almost 10,000, just a little over 9,000 here for SoaR. And they're still trying to put the pressure where they can find it. Only 2 towers so far have fallen this game, which is where the map control comes through. Even though they've had the jungle under their control, they're slowly extending that line of scrimmage.
They might be slowly extending the line of scrimmage, but they've got about a 9,000 goal lead, and the experience is mounting up quite high as well. I mean, 3-level disparity between Delnyy and StormyRays right now, and a lot of that's just credited to the early game start that SoaR managed to have. Getting that level 1 kill onto Delnyy is really making all the difference in who's able to acquire the pressure in solo.
So far, of the 3 games me and you have been on, each time the solo laner falling early is really what's kind of given the lead away, and SoaR being able to take this away. Potentially a lesson for Memory of Michael next time to just get as aggressive as possible, take out StormyRays. Maybe they'll win the next one.
Sometimes you just get a little bit caught off guard, but can't really blame in Memory of Michael. It just happens, and unfortunately, it's managed to have enough of an impact as the game progressed because of the lane pressure coming through from the other sides of the map. It wasn't just the solo lane.
Yeah.
SoaR Gaming has had complete control of this entire game.
As we can see now, looking to extend their control even further. This Tier 1 tower doesn't stand too much of a chance against the level 20 Amus and Cobb. And now, I mean, Keegs really kind of has the option. Looks like he's going to go for the box. And dealing a ton of damage in just a few hits. Keji recognizes that not only is the level difference there, but the item difference making a huge chunk of a difference in their fight.
And Medieval getting a little bit pushed out there by Crimson, but Relating going all the way in by himself, actually getting blown up. T2 Tower taking him out anyway. Now Jumpa trying to get out of the way, but Shalaber's damage, way too much to handle.
1-for-1 trade with the Tier 1 tower going in favor overall of SoaR, although losing Relating is going to be relatively big. Just being able to pick that kill up for Memory of Michael going to give them that little extra boost they needed, the reward for killing him off. Portal Demon about to spawn back. Fire Giant still up, and at 23 minutes in, SoaR have the ability to go for it, although they haven't really had the opening to go into that pit.
Factoring in another 1,500 gold for themselves, though, is starting to really add up. In Memory of Michael, you can tell that the thought process is there to try and fight back into SoaR. It's just that they're kind of hitting their heads into a brick wall right now. SoaR Gaming is just so far ahead. It's incredibly difficult for a Memory of Michael to really work their way in there.
Now SoaR back, spend some of the gold they've managed to amass. You can see the net worth. They are topping the charts all around, and they are going to continue to do so unless Memory of Michael has something to say about it, which they absolutely should. They still have a lot of opportunities here. Just because the gold lead has managed to amass itself on to the blue side does not mean that they are out of it just yet, but they need to be positioning just a little bit differently for these fights. They're getting zoned very easily, and depending on how this next one goes, Portal Demon started up, and the fight is going through, but Delnyy and Inbound just not able to do anything.
And all Keegs is doing is just taking these objectives time and time again, and one more time, just adding another one to it. Already grabbed the Portal Demon for his team, now working on that Fire Giant alongside of Shalaber. The secure is possible. Delnyy trying to work his way into the Fire Giant pit, just can't get anywhere near.
They're keeping it going. Shalaber going to go up into the ult, going to be going down, getting damage to Delnyy, and on the Hu-Yi, Keji going to be jumping away. Inbound taking some damage as he runs, and Delnyy going to be the first to fall. Keegs, one hit away is all it would take, with Jumpa not able to confirm that one. Relating in the meantime, able to pick up Keji, looking to maybe get aggressive on the Inbound, but it's just a Geb. No reason to dive the Tier 2 tower when your team can fall back and get that Fire Giant. With Keegs not around, it's a little bit more dangerous, but with the Portal Demon there, it just dropped right back in.
That is just so painful for a member of Michael to witness. It just both of those carries that should have realistically been taken out by Crimson's ultimate or the follow-up from Jumpa, able to survive, had their actives available, because there's really been nobody to force them out other than Jumpa. Speaking of which, ErupT actually losing both of his actives as well, now trying to escape because his team was able to pick up that Fire Giant.
Yeah, Keegs looking a little worse for wear after the Fire Giant, but with that buff going to be giving him a little bit of healing, he's not too worried, and he's going to be able to farm up no problem using that Aussie passive. The way things are going for him, it's looking really good for the Bug.
And Keegs has had a relatively quiet game, but I really do have to commend his attention to detail in that he hasn't been getting distracted by the team fights breaking out around him or by the members looking to try and burst him out. He's just kept all of his focus entirely on these objectives, and that's made all the difference for SoaR.
The big wins. He might not have a lot of kills, but when he kills the objectives, those don't tick up to his KDA, but being able to pick those up for his team. We've already seen 2 Gold Furies. I foresee another one in the future with the positioning on the map, and Keegs, at this point, has no real reason not to go for it. And with Medieval and Relating in the neighborhood, should just be even more gold. Although sometimes you want to see the Fire Giant get a little bit more utility out of it. I expect to see some Phoenix aggression soon.
Pretty heavy lead so far from SoaR Gaming. It's looking like they're about to find a win in their first game of the day. And this is just another one of the circumstances where In Memory of Michael is just looking on the comeback in game number 2, I would say.
Yeah, and again, I think we mentioned this earlier, and I think it bears mentioning here. Sometimes you get behind, you recognize maybe we don't have a lot of chances. There's still some champions, there's still some openings, but what can we do to fix this for the next game? What can we think about right now? Spend this time kind of pondering what the next game might be. And it seems like In Memory of Michael might just be banking on, hopefully, these Phoenixes helping him out a little bit more.
Getting a little bit of experience playing from behind is never a bad call, although you might get memed a little bit in Twitch chat. It's still the right choice, I would say, most of the time, just because you can learn from your mistakes in that way. And I think In Memory of Michael, they'll also have a really solid opportunity here trying to hold off from these Phoenix Sieges with that Thoth.
Yeah, and being able to potentially turn the game around, we've actually seen that recently. One Thoth ult is all it really takes to take your team down a peg, and SoaR haven't necessarily been caught out by it yet, but they do tend to group around a lot. As Keji going to be the first one getting aggressed on the Geb shield, going to be his savior one more time. Thoth ult coming through, going to get a lot of damage down on the Keegs, but it's just going to be enough to deter SoaR, not enough to turn this around.
Keegs looking like he's just going to heal right up off of those back harpies. Was trying to wait it out, see if that Aussie proc would come up. He wasn't low enough, though, to trigger the passive of Aussie to come into play. Now, though, with that Fire Giant regen and just that little bit of lifesteal relating, Sprint has been popped from Medieval. They're looking to go all in onto In Memory of Michael right now.
They're relating, not going to be able to connect with anyone. Delnyy coming in, though, and gets erased off the board. Jumpa looking for the fight, but the fight is coming to him. He's forced to fall back, going to his fountain to get some of that healing. Inbound using his ult just to keep his team alive, but he trades his own life for it as long as Medieval can get that StormyRays. Going to grab it with his ult. The Phoenix going to fall in the meantime. Keegs doing exactly what you had said earlier, focusing the objective, not getting distracted.
And that's all he needs to do. His team is doing an excellent job at frontlining for him so he can free cast onto these Phoenixes. Jumpa barely getting away, having to use the Aegis to get out of that spin to win by relating, but not enough time bot to release him from Shalibur's grasp.
The second Phoenix going to fall down. Keji's still alive, Crimson's still alive, and it looks like the team's going to go for that third Phoenix just to keep themselves going. At this point, it's necessary only to make sure that Memory of Michael has no chance of being able to get back into this. Keji looking to try and defend, not going to be successful there, unfortunately for him. And now as the time goes forward.
Again!
Nice shot coming out from Crimson.
Crimson has just been finding relating time and time again, and even though relating is the only victim, at least that slows down SoaR Gaming for the moment. Delnyy trying to go in with the ultimate, but unfortunately he can't rally up the rest of his team to follow up with him. Everybody just too low, too much damage being returned. KeegsMate actually taking a huge chunk of his health, and with that, SoaR Gaming just going to fall back.
Yeah, a minute left. Fire Giant about to come back up. Go back, get that. Have that little extra buff going in when you go for the Titan. And the big thing coming down, Memory of Michael made the right decision at the end there. Delnyy looked like he was going to fall. But the big call, group up, stay together. You're not going to get anything at this point in the game when you're behind, going in one by one. At this point, you have 20,000 gold to overcome. You have 3 Phoenixes down. It's been done. You know you can do it. You just have to believe in your team. The problem is that this gets really demoralizing when you start thinking of how big those numbers are.
Now, I can respect SoaR Gaming's decision to not look for the end of the game right then and there. Even though 3 members of In Memory of Michael were dead, 2 of them were due to respawn within 5 to 10 seconds. So not really worth risking wiping, even though In Memory of Michael wouldn't have been able to end off of a possible wipe onto SoaR. It still would have just kept buying the team time. And when a team's composition is based pretty heavily around the late game, you don't want to typically allow them to get there.
Fire Giant taken down one more time. Portal Demon was shortly before that, which allowed the team to just come drop right back into the pit. And Chalibur going to be credited for that, but the team happy that it's happening. They don't have to worry about the Phoenixes respawning. Usually, some of these teams have been able to keep up a fight, keep up some aggression to force the Fire Giant to come back a little bit later. But as it stands right now, Keji, wrong place, wrong time.
Just trying to get a little bit of farm in his name, but it doesn't matter. This one is pretty much done, I would say. Without Keji there to help defend and output a little bit of DPS, Crimson alone, I just don't see him having the damage to secure these kills onto SoaR.
Dead with the sun still available, but he still has 30 seconds in the timeout box. And coming in, Delnyy looking to get bursted down almost immediately. Not going to be able to make an impact there. Inbound doing his best, but again, just getting bursted down. The same thing happened to Chalibur, though. Crimson with another amazing shot, but the damage just isn't enough coming down to it, and that's going to be another Titan kill. SoaR Gaming looking to finally put a win on the board.
And SoaR, they took that win in a very handed manner. Like, there was just no contest whatsoever from In Memory of Michael for the majority of that game.
Now, what was looking like arguably one of the rougher starts I think I've seen for a split coming down out of a team, finally being able to find that it's going to be good for them, not only being able to say, hey, look, we were losing, we got the practice, but now, finally, we have a win, and trying to continue that for the next game, potentially. But In Memory of Michael had that chance to rethink about their problems and try to turn it around.
And again, even though SoaR had been without a win before, it just goes to show that any of these teams in NA can pop off right now. And one member I think was really showing that off was Chalibur in that game.
He was able to do so much with this Raijin. You've mentioned his clear early on is very good, especially since they accompanied it with Keegs. But these ults were really what paid it off. He was just controlling In Memory of Michael the entire time his team was doing objectives.
Often using that dash pretty aggressively as well, knowing that he could trust his teammates to provide the necessary peel for him to get away with it. Chalibur just executed the Raijin combination wonderfully.
And with that, he was able to kind of help lead the team to victory. Keegs obviously had a huge hand in this as well, being able to take down a lot of objectives. But Chalibur was the one, kind of the unsung hero. He is the one controlling it so that Keegs didn't have to worry about the rest of the team. Even right here, you can see him going and helping save his ADC and keep him alive to be able to push down that last Phoenix. And overall, these drums just kept on beating.
That's a lot of damage as well. Every single time that I just watch one of these Taiko drums go off, and even just his standard abilities was completely shredding through the entirety of In Memory of Michael.
And being able to throw that damage down, something to deal with depending on how In Memory of Michael want to. Knowing